Malcolm Louie here. Welcome to Eversprint.com. Today we're speaking with Tom Azelby, the founder and managing partner of Bandwave Systems, a fast-growing provider of broadband aggregation solutions that delivers last-mile internet connectivity across the globe. Welcome to the call, Tom.
Thanks for having me, Malcolm.
Tom, you grew your company's revenue from $2.9 million in 2014 to $6.1 million in 2017, a 107% increase, and now you're on track to hit around $8 million in revenue in 2018. What were your number one marketing and sales objectives over the past few years that brought your company to where it is today?
I think what we did, Malcolm, is we focused on the type of customer that would deliver those type of numbers. So we specifically, we set our parameters of what type of company we need to sell to, and then we kind of go out there and try to find those companies and give them our business proposition. But we're very targeted and we're very specific of who our customer is and who are the people within that organization who we need to target.
Can you share a little bit about who your ideal customer is and how you went about finding them?
Sure. Our target customer is an enterprise client that has anywhere between 25 and 500 locations. That means brick and mortar locations spread out over a large territory, all over North America, down into the Caribbean, South America, or they might even have a global footprint. So we target these enterprise customers have to have a lot of brick and mortar in order to need our last mile connectivity. Because if you need us, that means you have a lot of locations and you're going to need to use a lot of different carriers. So as an aggregator, they can come to us. We can give them one contract, one customer support, and one bill. So we can deliver all that connectivity because we're a wholesaler for over 100 internet providers and carriers. Some of the big names that your audience would know: AT&T, Comcast, Time Warner, Charter. But we even work with small regional providers who also deliver all different types of last mile connectivity, from wireless to wireline to Ethernet to coax to fiber. So we've aggregated all these carriers throughout North America especially, and that allows us to go to these enterprises with multiple locations and deliver that connectivity for them, and then we wrap our specialized support around it. So it's definitely a higher level experience for the customer based on the support we provide them. But that's really our target. Now, within those 25 to 500 location targets, we know the specific people we need to contact, and that would be a CIO, an IT manager, a network infrastructure person, or a telecommunications manager. So generally, we're calling on sophisticated IT departments that might have a lot of resources or not a lot of resources, but they look for the type of service that we can deliver for them. And even though we're a boutique operation, we're so specialized that very large organizations or enterprises will seek us out for our services.
Now, can you, for our interview here, for our discussion here, is there one particular customer that you're willing to or able to share details about? Or we can talk about a hypothetical customers.
Well, I'll give you a couple of hypothetical cases because we are working with people's networks. So we don't want to, just from a security point, we don't want to tell them what we actually do for any particular customer's network. But I will say the healthcare industry is a very important industry for us. Large healthcare providers, and I'm talking some of the big brand named hospitals you would hear, where they used to be very localized in a certain city or a certain region. Healthcare is like the new retailers. They're expanding their footprint. They have physicians' offices throughout different locations. They're now hiring teleworkers, which aren't just limited to coming into their hospital. So they're building teleworker networks. They have brick and mortar facilities now in different, spread out throughout the region they're in. And some of the big healthcare systems, you will see they might be based in Ohio, but you also see them now in Florida, or they're based in New York, and you see them expanding out into the Midwest. So healthcare is a really good vertical for us. because like retailers who have a lot of brick and mortar, healthcare has a lot of brick and mortar. And that's kind of been a real benefit to us to supplement their IT teams to build out these wide area networks with internet connectivity. That's where we come in. But we're not limited to that vertical. Like I said earlier in the conversation, if you have 25 to 500 locations, if you're in the grocery business, we do 2 large regional grocery chains. We work with a large heating and air conditioning HVAC distributor. We do about 380 locations for them. We do some upscale retailers that have footprints across the country. So we do hit other verticals, but I just know in the last few years, healthcare has been driving a lot of our revenue.
Okay. Well, why don't we talk a bit more about the healthcare side of things? How do you go about finding them? How do you market to them? How do you get them to raise their hand and go, I need help? How do you get them to reach out to you directly?
Really good question. What we've developed over many years is a channel partner. So within our company, we market out to a lot of telecom, IT consultants, and IT VARs. These are companies that are in the industry that are working with a lot of these healthcare systems or other major enterprises, and they're being brought in to solve problems for these enterprises. And when they're in there and they're talking to a lot of these IT decision makers, they start hearing that, well, we have to bring in all this new connectivity, we have to manage it, we have to deliver it, and that channel for us will refer us to that client. They are then commissioned by us for bringing us that opportunity. We have about 100 consulting firms who are either in telecom or IT who refer business to us, and they will earn a commission unless they are being paid by the enterprise themselves, where they're on some type of fee-based, where they'll just find us and then refer us back because of our experience in last mile connectivity.
So you're not reaching out directly to, say, hospitals and get to win their business. You're counting on your channel partners to do this for you entirely?
Yes, but it's evolved over the years. The channel partners were almost 99% of our business for many years. But what has happened, we've been in the business a long time now, since 2000, that if you were to Google broadband aggregator or broadband aggregation, organically we're the number one find on Google for broadband aggregation services. So what occurs now is you could have an IT director looking at a problem, going to do his own research, and some of these large organizations will find us directly. Another thing for us is word of mouth. Once you have performed well for a CIO or a network manager for a large organization, obviously he has other friends and speaks to other people within that industry, and there's nothing like a good referral, and that happens quite often now.
Okay. So for today, what would you say would be the breakdown of the leads and opportunities that you're getting now in the healthcare industry? Where are they coming from? Is it still predominantly your channel partners, or is it coming from organic traffic to your site and people are finding you, or is it really coming from your referrals?
I would say it's the 80-20 rule. I would say 80% are still coming from referrals, 20% are coming to us directly. But some of those 20% have been very big enterprises, very large organizations. So I think the revenue would be a little bit different. How much revenue comes in directly with our overall revenue compared to come through the channel. We have noticed some larger organizations are able to find us directly. But still, day in and day out, our channel is doing a lot of great work for us and delivering some really good leads.
Right. When you said 80% referrals, that includes both your referrals from your channel partners and from the CIOs who had a great experience with you.
No, I would consider that in the 20%, Malcolm. So we have 80% where these partners, these IT partners and telecom consulting partners bring us the business, but the other 20% is where they find us directly or they're told about us by another person who's worked with us before.
Okay. So when your sales team gets a warm lead someone who's interested in learning more about your service, what's your process there? How does your sales team qualify them and take them from a lead to a prospect to ultimately a one deal?
That's a great question, and I think what we do is how we get in the door so quickly. If you call some larger telecom providers, most of them who are our partners, they don't move as fast as we do. So if someone brought us an opportunity, and let's say it's 200 locations, let's say it's a retailer that has 200 locations based throughout North America. The first thing we would ask that referring partner is, can we see a list of their locations? They would provide us a list of their locations. They would tell us what their minimum bandwidth needs are. And from that, giving us just some basic information on their network, in 48 to 72 hours, we turn around a full quote to the consultant to bring back to the client. So basically, now obviously we're going to have to talk about their network in more detail. We're going to have to talk about what other services they might need beyond the internet connectivity. They might need guest Wi-Fi. They might need us to monitor and deliver their SD-WAN appliances and licenses, or they might need field services where we need a technician beyond the carrier where they need wiring done. But the first thing we do is we map out all the connectivity for them for their 200 locations. And that is returned to them with full pricing. So technically, without further discussion, they could actually sign the quote and convert it into a contract immediately. So by doing that so quickly, we're giving them a lot of data for nothing, for free, telling them exactly what type of connectivity they can get at their location. If they were to call a bigger carrier, and I'll even use names, if they were to call an AT&T, a Comcast, a Level 3, any of the big carriers, first of all, they don't have footprints that expand all over the country. They all play in their certain regions, so then they have to reach out to other carriers to see if they could even help them or not. But with Bandwave, since we're already working with all these carriers and have wholesale relationships, we're able to turn around that quote really quick. And that's really valuable information to that IT decision maker at the enterprise. So that's exactly what we do it, and we do it really quick. We have 3 rules here. It's speed, process, and people. And they're like kind of the 3 things that we, as the team, all kind of rallies around are those 3 things: speed, process, and people. And speed and the process of getting back a quote to a large enterprise and giving them all that information with no commitment is a big plus for us to move closer to a sale.
For providing your quote, how much information do you need? How much time does your team need to spend with the prospective client to get?
Well, in the initial conversation, sometimes we won't even have to talk to the decision maker. If it's a reputable consultant, we can actually pull the information from him in one phone call, and we have some very basic questions about their network that he needs to answer for us, and then within 48 to 72 hours, we'll have back a full quote. Now, if it's an existing customer where we've already built out a lot of their network, because a lot of our business is farming. Once we've established a relationship with these big organizations, they're acquiring other companies, they're moving facilities, opening new facilities. Those type of transactions are done within hours. That means they ask us about a new location. Within a couple of hours, they have a new order form in front of them, telling them exactly what they need. They sign off, boom, we go to work real quick. That's part of the speed we do. But for a new client with a lot of locations, and it's a new introduction, really it's a brief conversation with their consultant. Once the quote is received, then we have what we call a tech consult. That's where the referring consultant gets the decision makers on the phone. We discuss the opportunity, the pricing. We tell them some case studies, and then we proceed from there to go to close.
Okay. Can you share how long it takes typically from providing the initial quote and then doing the tech consultation and then finally
Sure.
getting to the close? Like, what's the process there, and how long does it take?
Okay, sometimes if an organization or an enterprise is going to be going through a refresh, that means they're doing a total change of their network, and a lot of that's going on today because wide area network technology is changing, and we could have a whole discussion about that, but there's a lot of planning that is involved because they could be leaving a large carrier to move to a more cloud-based wide area network. And that does take some planning, so it could be 3 to 4 months. So they want to prepare for this new network to be built. And so it could take 90 to 120 days before you close on the contract. It could even take longer. But sometimes it can happen immediately. We might quote, and we'll go back to that 200 site customer, that enterprise with 200 sites. They might come to us and say, like, we're looking to do some changes soon, but we'd like to start building a secondary network and see how it goes. So they could look at that quote after 48 to 72 hours, and they could cherry pick 3 to 5 locations and say, hey, listen, let's start with these for now, and we'll build a beta test with these. Then we'll do that for them really quickly. Then they'll add 5 more locations, then 10 more locations. Now that we have them in the system, then we continue to grow the business. I think what we do, which is a little bit different than a lot of telecom providers or any software providers, they're looking for that big contract and the big signature. With Bandwave, we'll map and give you the pricing for the whole network. But if you want to kind of slow walk your way into that new network, you can go 1, 2, 10, 20, or 50 at a time. And I think that gives us a real competitive advantage.
Right, definitely. Can you share some details as to how big a deal size we're talking here to give some context?
Sure. I would today what we consider, we call it, if we're elephant hunting, and we're always looking, to land a few elephants, every year or 18 months. An elephant for us will bill $50,000 a month. But that doesn't mean we don't want clients that bill $5,000 a month or $10,000 a month. But I guess the best way to look at it, our average customer spend per location is about $350, and that's an average. So we will have some customers who don't have a lot of bandwidth needs. Their average would be a lot lower. We'll have some customers who have mixed in high-end bandwidth connections that could cost over $1,000 blended in. So we look at about $300 to $350 as the average spend. Now, that's not only for the circuit. That's for our management, our monitoring, our trouble ticketing. That's for us overseeing all the management of that network and any of the logistics that go along with it.
Okay. And how long do your customers typically stay with you?
For us, it's a very good business in the sense that our customers, once we deploy all their facilities, it's a very sticky business for us. As long as we're providing the service that we promise them, to pick that up and change all that out into the future, it's something they like to avoid. So the contracts are for 3 years, but they generally go on much longer than that. We have some clients, since we've gotten into the enterprise business back in 2007, some large enterprises we signed up in 2007 are still with us, just to give you an example.
Right. Fantastic. Now,
it's a very sticky business.
Yeah. Now, would you say your median client is at I know it's somewhere between 5,000 and 50,000. Would you say it's 5,000 a month? That's your median? I'm just trying to figure out how big your deal size is, your median deal size is, so we can get some context as to how your sales process works. Yeah,
I would think like 5,000 is probably like the initial threshold for us. And you could take that by taking 25 locations and timesing that by 200. I think I'm doing the math in my head. Yep. I think that's about 5,000 a month. Yes, okay. That would be an entry. That's the entry level deal. And our deals today, if we were to look at our top customers, it would range from 5,000 up to 100,000 a month.
Right.
100,000 a month being a rare client, but we're starting to see our future that we'll be pushing some of our 40,000 a month, 50,000 a month. We're going to be pushing them into the 60 to 75 up to that 100,000. So right. Our forecast looks good because once we get them in our system, there's acquisitions and there's more locations to do for them.
Right. You're growing along with them, which is ideal.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, just from doing really quick math, just if we stick with the 5K per month initial and you do that for 12 months, that's 60K a year. And say they stay with you for 5 years, right? 3K initial contract, but they continue on, but just do 5 years because I can do the math easy that way. So you're talking about deals at worth over the lifetime of 300,000 and up.
Yes.
Right. So, and then your way your sales process works, and it sounds pretty efficient, right? Some of these you get started right away. Others might take you 3 to 4 months to close.
That is correct.
Right. So during the 3 to 4 months to close, what does your team do? Are you talking to your prospective clients once a week and continuing the consultative process, or is it pretty much left to them to iron it out on their end and then get back to you?
No, since networks are getting, they're simpler, but at the same time they're getting more complex because everything is being moved to a cloud-based environment for these clients. So connectivity and broadband is key. So there's always different issues that will come up. We'll even consult with the client on some of the new technologies they might be buying because we have some expertise in it or we've worked in the environment before. So they also use us as a resource to ask us have you seen this before? How will this this technology work with this technology from firewalls, cloud-based firewalls? How are they going to integrate with an SD-WAN application? So sometimes we go down the path with them as they're starting to figure out what their future network's going to look like. Now, in the end, they could use other companies to bring in that type of technology, but we'll be a critical point for that project because we're bringing in all the connectivity and all those different cloud-based products. We're like, what I say is we're like the plumber. You have to have us to make all these different technologies work and all the logistics that go into it. We pull that all together for them. So there are multiple conversations throughout the process. So every once in a while, they might not be ready to move forward, but we might not hear from them. And then a year later, they come back and they're like, we're going off term on our existing network. We're now ready to go. So that it can work out that sometimes too. But we're very patient. We're not going anywhere.
Okay, great. Now, in terms of your sales process, clearly it's a high ticket deals that we're talking about here, right? $300,000 and up, $300,000 and up lifetime value of a new deal. And from what you've shared with me so far, it sounds like the key way that you've been able to accelerate your sales is literally by being able to move quickly, provide a fast quote, and get started fast with your potential clients. Is that right, or are there other drivers of how you grew your high ticket sales so fast?
Well, I think speed and getting them the quotes, that's a really important aspect that we put out there. But the other thing is we've been around long enough, so we've developed some credibility as a broadband aggregator. We've been using that term for a long time, and now because of the way wide area networks are changing, everyone wants to be a broadband aggregator, but we're one of the originals. So we've built up a reputation. We have good case studies, and another thing we have are really good references from very well-known branded enterprises, and we'll rely on those references out to other enterprises, and we encourage them to check us out, do their due diligence. And we get very good reviews, from our clients, and that's a big help in getting the deal closed too.
Now, in terms of the future, I know you shared with me at the beginning of the call that you're looking to grow to 8 million this year, which is a nice increase, right? You did 6.1 million in 2017, looking for 8 million in 2018. What are your sales and marketing targets for 2019 and 2020?
Well, what's nice about our business, it's very predictable, meaning you can kind of predict the pipeline. Like what we have now, like all the business we added this year, a lot of it hasn't built out for a full year. So we can now project what our growth will be based on what we booked this part of the year. But when it builds out completely in 2019, that we already know what kind of growth that's going to deliver. So to kind of frame it for your listeners is over the last 5 years, or I'm going to say over the last 4 years and going into this fifth year, we'll have about 25% growth average for 5 years. We've been on the Inc. 5000 4 times in a row. Based on our numbers, what we see in the pipeline and what's going to bill out completely for next year, we're almost positive we're going to make it for a fifth year, and that goes back to what I said. We have a very predictable business, and it could go either way. At some point, we might be able to predict that we're not going to have the growth in the year in the upcoming year because it's such a predictable business. But we're happy to say that we can see based on what we have in the pipeline, what we see coming in, that next year we're going to achieve a 25% growth by next year too. Hope we could do even a little bit better, but we kind of know what that number's looking like already.
Right. Okay. So how are you, beyond next year, right? You need to keep finding new clients, right, or growing your existing client business to continue the growth that you're seeing in your pipeline, right?
Yes.
Right. So, what are your targets there in those regards in terms of keeping your pipeline full? What are your targets for finding new customers and for growing the business of your current customers? And what are the challenges that you see to overcome to achieve those targets?
Sure. So we've been a Northeast-based company. We're 30 minutes north of Philadelphia. We're an hour and a half south of New York. We've built, since we're right here, even though we have customers who headquarters could be in Dallas, we have companies we work with headquarters in Dallas, headquarters in Seattle. We have these agents spread out that they can bring opportunities to us. When you do live in a certain region, especially the Northeast, you have that I-95 corridor. There's a lot of opportunities there that you just pick up because you're kind of local to the area. And you kind of find some of those big companies that are off the radar. Like you might have never heard of them, but they do a lot of business and they have a lot of facilities. So what we're looking to do, we've opened up a second office in Florida, in West Palm Beach, Florida, and that's for 2 reasons. Our building here in New Jersey, we've run out of space, and we wanted to have a second network operating center. So we have our NOC here, but we're also opening up a NOC with network engineers down in Florida. It's good. Obviously, it'll be smaller than what we have here, but it will give us support redundancy. So if there's a hurricane headed to Florida, not a concern because we have the main office here in New Jersey. If there's an issue here with the grid in New Jersey, we have the support down in Florida. But the other thing we're going to do is we're starting to market to the Southeast region to enterprises that hit our criteria. So now that we're based down there, we're setting up a whole marketing program to hit Southeast-based enterprises. And we'll do some data mining, find out who the big targets out there from healthcare to retail, distribution, finance. So we're going to kind of, besides using that location as a network operating center, we're also going to generate some sales based on having a presence down there. And we're going to continue to do what we've always done. We talk to that the telecom consultants and IT consultants across the country. We go to trade shows. One thing that we have in our favor, and it's luck, is that the wide area network, the technology that's coming into cloud-based wide area network is disrupting the industry in a sense, and as a broadband aggregator, which is a key component of those changes. And so the network technology is changing where you need a broadband aggregator, and that's really working in our favor. That we should see this whole SD-WAN play. This has 3 to 5 years of where you'll see a lot of organizations start transforming their networks over to SD-WAN, and we play a big role as a broadband aggregator. So the future looks pretty good, but anything can happen. But right now, some of the trends are moving in our direction as a broadband aggregator.
In regards to the marketing program that you mentioned for the Southeast region, what challenges do you see there in terms of hitting your targets there? What are your targets for your marketing, and what challenges do you see you need to overcome to achieve them?
Well, I think in any business, if you're big or small, like we're gonna put some resources and money about building that marketing target down there, and that will be through some data mining using some of the LinkedIn tools, and we'll even bring in some outside help, consulting help to do that. Our marketing manager will run that, but then once we develop that plan, we have to execute. And that's always the challenge, because there's always other things that occur to throw you off your plan. There's other business or problems that can kind of take you off the plan. So the biggest challenge, and I think it's a challenge for everyone, is once you put the plan together, you got to execute the plan. And that's always the challenge. You have to execute the plan, and it's always difficult if it's something new, because as your business is growing, which ours is growing right now, it's easy to kind of get into a lull of just keep doing what we're doing, and we do a lot of that. But if we're on a special plan or we have a special program in mind, and we put some resources towards it to develop the plan, then we have to execute. So that's always a big thing for any business. You got to execute the plan.
Yeah, and an unexecuted plan is a terrible thing to waste, right?
Absolutely. You throw, and we've been around, for 18 years, and we've put some plans together that we didn't execute, and sometimes that worked in our favor, believe it or not. But we like to, if we put a plan together, we want to execute. It doesn't guarantee success, but you'll have no success if you don't execute the plan. So yeah. I'm big about getting the plan put together, but then execution. So that's our goal.
Yeah. Now, how big of a market do you foresee the Southeast becoming relative to your Northeast business?
You know what? I don't know. It's so random today. Like our customers are spread out now, where we were more local to the Northeast, I would say 5 or 7 years ago. But today we have big enterprise customers, and we don't need a lot. We only need 1 or 2 in a city that we go after. But I'm not sure, but I think if we put a plan together, like we're elephant hunting, if we picked up 2 to 3 large enterprises in the Southeast, that's a home run for us. That's how focused we are. So and there's plenty of big enterprises in the Southeast, but we only need 2 or 3 over the next 18 months, and that would be a home run.
Right. Okay. So we didn't really work out the math on the enterprise business, but they're big, right? You're talking like $50K a month on these guys.
Yeah, that's what we consider an elephant. If they can build to the 50, but but I don't want to discount how important our business is with the 10,000 a month, 20,000 a month, 30,000 a month. They're all They're all great accounts. They diversify your risk as far as not being too heavily weighted with any one big customer.
Yep.
So we love those we love those type of customers too, and they're really important to our growth.
Yeah.
When we first started, we did a lot of mom and pop when we first started the business, and then we do someone that had 5 to 15 medical practices or 4 law offices. So as we've matured as a company, though that customer base has shrunk or gone away because they really didn't need us anymore. So we don't have as many customers, but we have fewer customers who just have a lot more locations.
Right. Yeah, I just did the math here on your potential elephant clients. I mean, they are pretty significant, right? I mean, you get one of them, they're over the lifetime of your relationship with them, it's $3 million and up in revenue. So I can see the effectiveness of them.
Yeah, you could put. I mean, conservatively, you could put a 5-year term on them, and so it's really good. Now, it could take a while to ramp up to the 50, but once they get there, it's a real solid customer.
Yeah, and you know, they have such a large organization, they're going to be not very keen at all to want to start over with another vendor to help them with their network, right? Imagine the stickiness factor for the larger entities is even higher than with the smaller ones.
Yeah, the only times we see migration, and it's not usually from us, if they're looking to move away from another aggregator or provider, is because they're very, very frustrated on their service. And even then, it's painful for them to move from a bad provider. Like it's a big effort to move even from someone who's really not delivering what they promised. But we like to help them go through that process, and we can even relieve a lot of that stress and help them make that migration over to us. And we've been involved in a few of those things.
2 final questions for you, Tom. I know you covered this a little bit, but maybe you can recap it again. Who are your ideal customers, and what's the best way for them to contact your company?
Sure. We look for customers that have anywhere between 25 and 500 brick and mortar, either offices, distribution centers, retail, any type of customer with multiple locations spread over a large footprint, up into North America, anywhere in the continental U.S., even down into South America or globally. But if they have a big footprint in North America with brick and mortar, that's the type of customer we'll go after. That is specifically the type of customer we look for, and then we focus on the IT department. So the CIO, the IT manager, network infrastructure, any of those titles, those are the people that will be dealing with those type of problems where they'll need the type of company we are. They're the people that we'll target with that many locations. And they can go to our website at bandwavesystems.com, where they can reach me at Azelby at bandwavesystems.com. You can also find all my contact information on our website, bandwavesystems.com. So that's how they could reach out to us.
Tom, would you mind spelling out your email address for those who are listening?
Sure. It's TAZELBY at Bandwave Systems, which is plural.com.
All right, great. Thanks for joining us today, Tom, and sharing how you accelerated your company's high-ticket sales.
Thanks for having me, Malcolm.
We've been speaking with Tom Azelby, the founder and managing partner of Bandwave Systems, about his company's rapid growth. For interviews with other fast-growing high-ticket sales companies, or to learn how we can accelerate your firm's high-ticket sales through automation, visit eversprint.com.